What is up, everyone? It's your boy Kazak here, and today we're here with a little bit of a different video today. We're going to be talking about the Game Award nominees of 2024. I've seen this has been kind of like the big topic in the gaming community lately, and I figured why not, give my opinion on it. Like, I know that the Game Awards has always been like, it's always been something that a lot of gamers just sort of scoff at and just be like, yeah, okay, this is just like a big old mainstream, TV program or whatever, or event that's just here just to, highlight the mainstream games and all that stuff. And most people don't really care about it. Some people will ask, like, why even bother talking about it? It's a waste of time. We know how it's going to go every year. Personally, I like talking about this stuff just because I think it's just interesting to talk about. I think it's really, really intriguing to see how a lot of this stuff at the Game Awards play out. And there's been like a certain game, or I should say expansion, that has been really, really making people, it's stirred up something in the community and like big debates and all that stuff. But, we're going to save all that once we get there. Let's just actually look at the Game Award nominees. Now, I'm not going to go through every single category because if I'm being honest with you, there's a lot of categories in here that I just don't really care about. So I'm going to be skipping some of them. And we're just kind of focusing on the ones that I personally care the most about, which is the Game of the Year, Best RPGs, Best Action Games, and Best Fighting Games. Along with maybe some other categories if I find them interesting enough. So, excuse me. With that said, though, let's actually get into the nominees. So, right out the gate, we got Game of the Year. And it says, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. So, we have Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Ray Fantasia. So, excuse me. So, not a bad lineup of games. Now, there are two games on here that I would personally probably replace with other games, such as like Balatro. Again, I'm not really a big card game guy, so maybe that's why, I may feel like it doesn't really deserve to be on here, but this game has gotten a lot of great reviews and all that stuff, so again, maybe it does deserve it. I don't know, me personally, I don't know if it really deserves it for Game of the Year, but I have seen a lot of reviews, I've seen a lot of the reception around it, and from what I can tell, it seems like it's a really, really solid, amazing card game that did extremely well. So, I say props to the development team, whoever made this game, big props to them. So, I think, it's whatever, I can give them, I can give them props. Plus, they're like an indie development team and stuff. So, you know what? I think they deserve some respect on this one. I definitely believe they do. Oh yeah, you know what? Let's actually talk about the major elephant in the room, and that is Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. This has been the big thing that's got a lot of people talking and mad and all that stuff. And I'm gonna tell you guys, and I'm just keeping honest with you, I personally don't think this game or expansion should have been on this list. I really don't think it should have been on here. And I say this as somebody who actually did enjoy Elden Ring. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not really a big Souls fan. Like, I don't really care too much about Souls-like games in general. But, I can admit that Elden Ring is a great game. But I just don't think this DLC expansion should be on here. I mean, we're talking about games that came out in 2024, not DLCs or expansions that came out in 2024. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to bring up that, well, the Game Awards came out and they said that, remasters and remakes and DLC expansions can be eligible for Game of the Year. And, to that I say, let's be real here. They only made this rule up just so they could put Elden Ring on the spot. And in my opinion, I think that is kind of lame to specifically make this rule that only benefits one game, which is Elden Ring. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to sound like a hater or anything like that, or trying to trash on the game, because again, I enjoyed Elden Ring. Now, did I enjoy it as much as other people did? No, not really. But I can still say that it's a relatively solid game. But adding this expansion on here just feels a little... It just feels like there's a little bit of like favoritism going on, because there's so many other games that could have easily took this spot over this expansion. Like, for example, Stellar Blade. Not just because it had a very sexy female character in it, but just because of the fact that it had great gameplay, the graphics were good, the music was pretty solid too. It just did everything right, and I felt like for an action game, it was really, really solid, and it stood out a whole lot too. So I don't really understand how this didn't get in here, but Elden Ring, the expansion, did. I don't know. I don't like this decision at all, and to me, it just feels a little forced. It feels like as if, they clearly put it on here because they knew that everybody loved the expansion, and they knew that, so they're just going to take advantage of that just to put it on the Game of the Year nominees section. And I just don't like it. I feel like there could have been so many other games that could have actually used that recognition way more over this expansion. I know people are going to say like, oh well, the expansion has over like 30 plus hours of content and all this other stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, that's cool, but how many times do I gotta keep on saying that it's a DLC to a pre-existing game that's been out since 2022? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I'm the one that's going crazy or not. Like, am I wrong for feeling this way? I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this, guys. To me, I just feel like it should not be on here. I just don't. That's how I feel personally, man, at the end of the day. But you know what? It is what it is. It's on here, so it don't really matter. And I already know for a fact that this game is probably going to dominate everything else. And I genuinely would not be surprised if this does win Game of the Year. But, we'll just have to wait and see on that front. Alright, so next we have Best Game Direction, awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. And the following are the exact same games that we just listed before: Astro Bot, Balatro, Black Myth: Wukong, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor. Now, for this category, I'm going to keep it pretty short. As far as Best Game Direction, I personally think this deserves to be Astro Bot's W. After seeing like what Astro Bot does with like its level design and gameplay and the cameos and stuff, I feel like Astro Bot definitely deserves like Best Game Direction. It just does so much great stuff here, so I'm definitely choosing that game in particular. Best Narrative for outstanding story, narrative, and development in the video game. So we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Yakuza 8 or Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor, Senua Saga, and Silent Hill 2. Now, I have not really gotten my hands on Yakuza 8 or Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, so I can't comment on that one. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's narrative is okay. I don't think it's the most mind-blowing thing ever. In fact, I kind of found it to be a little predictable at times. So if I had to pick in terms of best narrative, I really think Metaphor gets this for me personally, just because of the fact that like it plays around with the whole fantasy concept and all that stuff, like I mentioned in previous videos beforehand. And I really just liked the direction that they were going with in Metaphor in terms of its narrative and stuff. So for this category, I think it absolutely has to be Metaphor in my opinion. So let's see here. Best Art Direction, we have Astro Bot, Black Myth: Wukong, Elden Ring, Metaphor, and then Neva, which I have not played. Best Art Direction, I think that absolutely belongs to Metaphor. The game looks absolutely fantastic and phenomenal. So we're just gonna move past that. Best Score and Music, we have the same Astro Bot, Final Fantasy, Metaphor, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade is on here. So as far as music goes, music, I'm gonna give it to Metaphor. I think Metaphor has some really banging tracks, very very solid, and I enjoy it. So we're gonna go with that. Best audio design, don't really care about that. So we're just gonna move past some of these categories until we find something that I actually care about. So sorry about these guys. We're trying to pass through some of these categories and actually get to the ones I want to talk about here. Alright, so we have Best Action Game, Black Myth: Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer. You obviously know which one I'm going to pick. I'm obviously choosing Stellar Blade because of the fact that I think that, you know, not because of the fact that it has a very attractive female character in the game, but just because of the fact that it has really good gameplay, great graphics, great music. Overall, in terms of like just like an action game, this is probably the one that I enjoyed the most this year. I also enjoyed Black Myth: Wukong 2. I thought Black Myth was also a pretty fun game too. But in terms of just like sheer fun factor for me, I think Stellar Blade gets it in my personal opinion. Okay, so we're gonna skip through some of this other stuff here. Alright, so here we are at the Best RPG category, which is probably the main part that you guys probably care the most about. So we have Dragon's Dogma 2, of course, obviously Elden Ring, and obviously Final Fantasy, Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor. So this is the category that, in my opinion, is probably the easiest for me, just because of the fact that a lot of these I don't really care about. Dragon's Dogma, I don't care about Elden Ring. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was a great game, but not, I would say, my favorite. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I have not played it. So the only answer here is just Metaphor, which you might be seeing a pattern here with Metaphor. But you know, the sad thing about this like section is the fact that this year has so many great JRPGs that was not represented on here. For example, like none of the Falcom games, like Trails from Daybreak, East 10 Nordics, not even like Visions of Mana is on here either, which I think is really, really disappointing to see, especially since that game was pretty solid on here as well. And no Persona 3 Reload, which is super shocking to see. I thought that was going to be on here at some point, but no, apparently it's not on here. Well, outside of that, we have Best Fighting Game. So we have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue vs. Rising, the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, Multiverses, and Tekken 8. Okay, so I haven't got a chance to really talk much about fighting games on this channel, because, you know, as much as I really wanted to. I just haven't found like a good video topic when it comes to fighting games. But, you know, this is probably the best opportunity I have to talk about some fighting games. Starting off with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So, if you guys haven't seen my posts, my community posts and stuff, you'll know that I absolutely love Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I feel like that game was so great. It had a ridiculous roster of characters, fun gameplay, a lot of replay value, and overall, I just had a great time with Sparking Zero. Now, I know some people have been sharing their grievances with the game, and I know people have been saying all kinds of stuff about like the online and stuff like that. But, you know, I get all that, and there's nothing wrong with criticizing the game for that. I think those are very legitimate complaints. Heck, even I have my own personal complaints when it comes to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. But, you know, just as a game in general, I think Dragon Ball Sparking Zero more than deserves its props and its title to be Best Fighting Game of 2024, in my honest opinion. As for Grand Blue vs. Rising, Grand Blue Versus has always been one of those games I've always wanted to get my hand on and play. I played like the free version that they let you play on like PlayStation and stuff. It's a very solid fighting game. I really enjoyed it. The characters are super fun to play on there. I just never really had the chance to actively go out and like, you know, actually buy the game for myself. I do plan on copying the game at some point, but until then, I'm probably just gonna stick with playing like the free version that you can play on like PlayStation and Xbox and all that stuff. But I definitely plan on getting my hands on it at some point. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. See, this is the part that really hurts me, because I want to vote for this game. I really want this game to win, but I know it's not going to win because of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. But, you know, in terms of best fighting game, in my opinion, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection is pretty much up there for me when it comes to like best games I've played in 2024. Sure, it's a remaster and I get it, but at the same time, you know, playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and stuff with the homies and all that is such a fun experience, man. I think it's been a blast playing this game, and I still play it actively even now, man. So I'm really tempted to vote on it. I really am. Multiverses, don't really care. Tekken 8, I really enjoyed Tekken 8. You know, in case you guys didn't know, I'm a big Tekken fan. I played pretty much every single Tekken game in the franchise, including the tag games. I would vote for Tekken 8, but Tekken 8 has just been having a lot of issues lately that I'm not really the biggest fan of, and I don't really like it that much. In terms of the issues, I'm not talking about the game itself, because I still think the game itself is still very fun and still pretty enjoyable. But they've just been making certain decisions with the game that I'm not the biggest fan of. I'll just put it like that. So yeah, I think out of all the fighting games that I talked about in this category, which one do I think deserves it the most? It's a huge toss-up between Sparking Zero and Marvel vs. Capcom. But dang, if I had to really pick, man, I think I would have to pick Sparking Zero for this one, in my personal opinion. Alright, so let's see if there's any other categories we want to talk about. No, not really. Ain't nothing else here. So I'm pretty much just going to close this off and just give my overall thoughts about this year's Game Awards and all that stuff. Overall, I feel like a lot of nominees outside of like the whole Elden Ring thing is pretty good. I do think some games did get snubbed, like Stellar Blade, Persona 3 Reload, and oh man, Granblue Relink didn't get nothing here at all, which is really surprising considering how much of a wave that game made when it first came out. Like, it was really crazy when that game came out. But if I had to guess, it's probably just because of the fact that this game hasn't had like a huge content update in such a long time. Which, in my opinion, what they should do with this game at this point is just do like a Monster Hunter Iceborne. Basically, just make like a Granblue Relink expansion, like Iceborne, where like there's a brand new story mode, brand new characters you get to play as, new weapons, new items, more fun, interesting boss encounters and stuff. I think if they did something like that, that would probably pump some new life into the game, and also, you know, gain back a lot of the interest for it, because the main problem with Relink right now is just the fact that after you really beat the game and do some of the post-game stuff, there really is not that much you can really do outside of just doing the same missions but on harder difficulties. So I think that might play a large part of it. But yeah, but yeah, that's for like a whole other video though. Overall, the Game Awards. Do I really need to say anything else? It's the Game Awards. I mean, I don't know what else I can say that hasn't been said before about it. Overall, I think this just was it. It's about what I expected, and it will not surprise me if Elden Ring did win this year's Game Awards, which I really hope that's not the case. But I would not put it past it. You know, that's how I feel about it. And you know, that's why honestly when it comes to stuff like this, I just like making videos where I talk about my personal favorite games of 2024 and putting it out there for everyone else to see, because that's kind of what you have to do. If you really want the games that you really like and enjoy be represented in some shape or form, and you really want people to get an interest, make videos talk about like what games you enjoy and what you personally thought was like the game of the year or what should have been the game of the year, and put that out there. You know, you never know that, like, you know, somebody may watch your video and they become interested in that game. That's why, like, at some point, either by the end of December or the first month of 2025, I'm probably going to be making a video about my favorite games of 2024, and just doing that, you know, because, you know, let's be honest here. At the end of the day, we all know that the Game Awards is not always going to represent the games that we personally love and enjoy. So, you know, if they can't do that, the best thing you can do is just do it yourself. And that's how I feel when it comes to this sort of stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say for today's video. I just wanted to get my little thoughts out there, and let me know if you guys agree or disagreed. You know, either one is fine with me. But until the next video, this was Kazak, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.